Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the wonderfully neurotic world of sleep superstitions. The elaborate anxieties that kept our ancestors awake worrying about what might happen when they finally fell asleep. So before you drift off, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy watching me dissect humanity's collective paranoia about unconsciousness. And let me know in the comments what weird sleep rituals you still do, and whether you actually believe they work, or just can't stop doing them anyway. Now, dim those lights, maybe grab that weighted blanket, and let's explore thousands of years of humans being absolutely terrified of closing their eyes. So, you think you'd sleep peacefully in ancient Rome without a single protective amulet or prayer to ward off dream demons? Adorable. Truly, like a medieval peasant trying to get 8 hours of uninterrupted REM sleep, while convinced that every shadow contained a soul, stealing incubus with questionable boundaries and a taste for nocturnal harassment. Before you could even dream of closing your eyes without triggering an ancient curse, you had to understand that sleep was humanity's first great mystery, our version of a cosmic riddle, except the only answer anyone cared about was, why do we spend a third of our lives unconscious and vulnerable to demons? Step 1. Acknowledge that sleep terrified our ancestors. Eyes closed, mind wandering, body defenseless. The perfect recipe for supernatural mischief. Ancient humans looked at sleep and thought, surely this is when evil spirits throw their wildest parties in our heads. The earliest sleep superstitions weren't gentle bedtime stories. They were survival manuals written in panic and passed down through generations of extremely concerned insomniacs. Mesopotamians, those overachieving inventors of civilization, decided that dreams were just gods and demons having conference calls in your brain. Pleasant dreams. The gods liked you. Nightmares. You clearly offended someone upstairs, probably by eating shellfish or wearing mixed fabrics. Sleep paralysis. That delightful experience where you wake up unable to move while sensing an evil presence. Obviously a demon sitting on your chest, having a snack. Flat out refusing to sleep was rejected by natural selection. Believing sleep was safe was also rejected. Having a face that didn't scream, "Please don't possess me while I'm unconscious," became humanity's first beauty standard. If you made it past your first decade without being convinced that closing your eyes would invite demonic roommates, you were considered brave, which in ancient terms meant statistically unlikely to die of anxiety-induced insomnia. The Babylonians took sleep superstitions seriously enough to create the world's first dream interpretation manuals. Not to help you understand your subconscious, but to decode which god was trying to slide into your DMs while you slept. This tradition was passed down with the gravity of a military briefing. If you dreamed of water, expect conflict. If you dreamed of flying, prepare for social climbing. If you dreamed of being chased by a giant cucumber, well, that one didn't make it into the official texts, but surely it meant something ominous about your vegetable consumption. Ancient Egypt elevated sleep superstitions to an art form, because if you're going to be neurotic about unconsciousness, you might as well do it with style. Egyptians believed that during sleep, your soul took little field trips around the afterlife, like a supernatural exchange student program. Your body stayed put, drooling on your papyrus pillow, while your car wandered around chatting with dead relatives and scouting real estate in the underworld. This sounds pleasant until you realize they also believed that if something startled you awake too quickly, your soul might not make it back in time. Imagine explaining to your boss that you're late because your soul got stuck in traffic on the highway to eternity. The Egyptians developed elaborate bedtime rituals to ensure safe soul travel. Amulets tucked under pillows, prayers whispered to protective deities, and careful positioning of the bed to align with cosmic forces. They treated sleep like international travel, complete with spiritual passport checks and customs declarations. Anything to declare? Just my consciousness, and maybe some anxiety about tomb robbers. But the Egyptians weren't satisfied with simple soul tourism. They decided that certain sleeping positions could influence your dreams, and by extension, your fate. Sleep on your back, and you're inviting prophetic visions. Sleep on your stomach, and you're basically asking for nightmares. Sleep on your side, and you're taking the middle path of dream neutrality. Modern sleep science would later suggest that sleeping position affects things like breathing and circulation. But where's the mystical drama in improved oxygen flow? The ancient Greeks, never ones to let other civilizations outdo them in the anxiety department, developed their own elaborate sleep mythology. They invented Morpheus, the god of dreams, because apparently regular gods weren't qualified to handle unconscious minds. Morpheus had the demanding job of personally crafting every dream for every sleeping human, like a cosmic film director working with an unlimited budget and absolutely no quality control. Bad dream. Morpheus was having an off day. Good dream. He was feeling generous. No dreams. He'd probably gone on vacation. Greek sleep superstitions included the revolutionary concept that dreams could predict the future, turning every nightmare into a potential apocalypse forecast. Citizens would wake up in cold sweats, not because they dreamed of being chased by monsters, but because they dreamed of being chased by monsters that might represent next Thursday's wheat shortage. Dream interpretation became a legitimate profession, like ancient life coaching, but with more omens and significantly more existential dread. The Greeks also popularized the idea that sleeping in certain locations could influence your dreams. Temples were preferred for prophetic dreams, presumably because gods had better Wi-Fi for transmitting visions. Sleeping near graves was discouraged unless you wanted to receive strongly worded complaints from the deceased about property values in the afterlife. Sleeping under certain trees was believed to invite fairy visits, which sounds charming until you remember that ancient fairies were less helpful Disney sidekicks, and more malicious tricksters with questionable boundaries. Roman sleep superstitions were, predictably, militaristic and slightly paranoid. Romans believed that dreams were intelligence reports from the future, delivered by gods who apparently had nothing better to do than spoil plot twists for mortals. They developed a complex system of dream categories: prophetic dreams that showed actual future events, symbolic dreams that required professional interpretation, and anxiety dreams that just meant you'd eaten too much garum before bed. Roman soldiers were particularly superstitious about sleep, which makes sense when you consider that falling asleep on duty could result in execution, while staying awake might result in prophetic dreams about tomorrow's battle. They carried amulets for peaceful sleep, performed rituals for brave dreams, and consulted specialists for nightmare removal. The Roman military machine was powered by caffeine, free anxiety, and a deep suspicion that the universe was trying to communicate through their REM cycles. Roman households developed elaborate bedtime protocols that would make modern sleep hygiene routines look casual. They blessed beds, positioned them according to astrological calculations, and maintained detailed dream journals that were reviewed by family patriarchs like quarterly performance reports. Gaius, your dream productivity is down this month. I'm seeing too many anxiety dreams and not enough prophetic visions. We need to discuss your nocturnal goal setting. The rise of Christianity introduced new layers of sleep-related anxiety, because if you thought pagan gods were demanding, wait until you met a religion that cared about your thoughts. Christian sleep superstitions focused heavily on spiritual vulnerability during unconsciousness. Sleep was when demons had their best opportunity to plant sinful thoughts, corrupt pure minds, and generally cause the kind of trouble that required extensive confession the next morning. Early Christians developed bedtime prayers that functioned like spiritual security systems, asking for protection against nocturnal temptation. They blessed their sleeping spaces with holy water, hung crosses above beds, and maintained that certain sleeping positions were more conducive to holy dreams. The concept of guardian angels became particularly important during sleep, because nothing says sweet dreams like knowing you have a personal bodyguard watching you drool. Medieval Christianity elevated sleep superstitions to new heights of complexity and terror. The medieval mind, already convinced that the world was full of demons, devils, and various supernatural troublemakers, viewed sleep as an 8-hour vulnerability window. Monks developed detailed guides for holy sleeping, complete with approved prayer sequences, blessed sleeping positions, and recommendations for dream content review. The medieval period introduced the concept of the succubus and incubus, demons who specialized in nocturnal harassment with a distinctly adult focus. These supernatural entities were blamed for inappropriate dreams, unexplained fatigue, and presumably any sleep-related activity that required awkward conversations with clergy. The mere possibility of demonic bedroom visitors led to elaborate protective measures: iron under the bed, salt circles around sleeping areas, and religious texts tucked under pillows like spiritual security blankets. Medieval sleep superstitions also included the terrifying concept of soul theft during dreams. The belief was that while you slept, your soul was temporarily separated from your body, making it vulnerable to spiritual kidnapping. Demons could allegedly capture wandering souls and hold them hostage, leading to a condition medieval doctors called soul loss, which manifested as chronic fatigue, depression, and a general sense that life had lost its meaning. Modern psychology might suggest these were symptoms of clinical depression or anxiety disorders, but medieval medicine preferred explanations involving supernatural theft and celestial ransoms. The medieval period also saw the development of elaborate dream interpretation systems that made ancient practices look simple. Dreams were categorized as divine messages, demonic temptations, or bodily humors gone rogue. Professional dream interpreters emerged as essential consultants, like medieval therapists who specialized in supernatural customer service. They maintained extensive catalogues of dream symbols. Dreaming of bread meant upcoming abundance. Dreaming of water suggested emotional turmoil. And dreaming of being pursued by a talking goat probably meant you needed to cut back on bedtime cheese consumption. Medieval sleep superstitions weren't limited to spiritual concerns. They included practical beliefs about sleep timing, positioning, and environmental factors. Sleeping during certain moon phases was believed to influence dream quality and mental health. Sleeping with your head pointed north was thought to align your soul with cosmic forces, while sleeping with your head pointed south might invite confusion and poor decision-making. The wrong sleeping direction could apparently turn you into the medieval equivalent of someone who puts pineapple on pizza, technically functional, but clearly making questionable life choices. The Renaissance brought new sleep superstitions wrapped in the language of emerging science, because nothing says intellectual progress like finding more sophisticated ways to be anxious about unconsciousness. Renaissance scholars, armed with rediscovered classical texts and an enthusiasm for categorizing everything, developed elaborate theories about sleep that combined ancient superstitions with cutting-edge pseudoscience. Renaissance sleep theory proposed that dreams were caused by vapors rising from the stomach to the brain, like supernatural indigestion with narrative structure. These vapors carried messages from the soul, the body, or occasionally from planets that had opinions about your sleep schedule. The quality of your dreams depended on your diet, your moral character, and your relationship with celestial bodies that were apparently very invested in your nocturnal entertainment. Renaissance physicians prescribed specific foods for dream enhancement: light meals for prophetic dreams, rich foods for vivid adventures, and absolutely no beans before bed, because everyone agreed that bean-induced dreams were universally terrible. They developed sleep positions designed to optimize dream reception, like adjusting a medieval antenna for better cosmic signals. They even created schedules for optimal dream timing, because apparently the universe operated on a strict appointment system for vision delivery. The Renaissance also introduced the concept of dream incubation, the practice of deliberately seeking specific dreams through ritual preparation. Want to dream about your future spouse? Sleep with a piece of wedding cake under your pillow after performing the appropriate ceremonies. Need guidance about a business decision? Follow a complex ritual involving symbolic objects, specific prayers, and careful attention to lunar phases. The Renaissance turned dreaming into a goal-oriented activity, complete with preparation protocols and success metrics. Renaissance sleep superstitions included elaborate theories about dream sharing and telepathic sleep communication. Scholars proposed that sleeping minds could connect across distances, allowing for supernatural messaging systems that made medieval prayer networks look primitive. Families developed rituals for shared dreaming, lovers attempted synchronized dream dates, and business partners tried to conduct nocturnal negotiations through coordinated unconsciousness. The success rate was presumably low, but the effort demonstrated remarkable optimism about the networking potential of REM sleep. The scientific revolution introduced new anxieties about sleep. Because if you thought supernatural explanations were complicated, wait until you encountered early medical theories about unconsciousness. 17th and 18th century physicians, armed with primitive understanding of anatomy and unlimited confidence in their theories, developed elaborate explanations for sleep that somehow managed to be both more rational and more terrifying than previous supernatural beliefs. Early medical sleep theory proposed that sleep was caused by blood pooling in the brain, creating a temporary state of controlled brain flooding. This sounded scientific until doctors started prescribing bloodletting to treat insomnia, because apparently the solution to too much blood in the brain was to remove blood from everywhere else. Patients who survived these treatments probably slept better, but mostly because they were too weak from blood loss to stay awake worrying about medical theories. The scientific revolution also introduced mechanical metaphors for sleep that treated the human body like a complex clock that needed regular winding down. Sleep was described as a necessary maintenance period when the body's internal mechanisms could reset, repair, and prepare for another day of being a biological machine. This sounds reasonable until you consider that 17th century mechanical expertise was still at the occasionally exploding clock level of sophistication. Scientific sleep superstitions of this period included beliefs about optimal sleep environments that combined emerging hygiene theories with lingering supernatural anxieties. Bedrooms needed proper ventilation to prevent dangerous air stagnation, but windows couldn't be too open because night air carried diseases, bad humors, and possibly lingering supernatural influences. The ideal sleeping environment required precise balance, fresh enough to prevent suffocation, sealed enough to prevent contamination, and blessed enough to prevent demonic visitation. The 18th century witnessed the emergence of sleep schedules as a form of moral discipline, because the Age of Enlightenment apparently decided that unconsciousness needed better time management. Early sleep hygiene advocates proposed that irregular sleep patterns were signs of moral weakness, lack of self-control, and insufficient commitment to personal improvement. They developed elaborate schedules for optimal sleep timing that treated bedtime like a civic duty and wake time like a moral obligation. These Enlightenment sleep schedules included specific recommendations for pre-sleep activities, light reading to calm the mind, gentle exercise to tire the body, and moral reflection to prepare the soul for unconscious vulnerability. They discouraged exciting books, rich foods, and passionate conversations before bed, because apparently the 18th century mind needed to be gradually powered down like a complex machine with delicate startup procedures. The Industrial Revolution transformed sleep superstitions by introducing new anxieties about artificial lighting, factory schedules, and urban living conditions. Gas lamps and early electric lighting convinced many people that artificial illumination could disrupt natural sleep cycles, corrupt dream content, and generally interfere with humanity's relationship with cosmic rhythms. The solution wasn't to embrace better lighting technology, but to develop increasingly complex rituals for counteracting artificial light contamination. Industrial-era sleep superstitions included beliefs about electromagnetic influences from new technologies. Telegraph wires were suspected of transmitting electrical interference that could disrupt dreams, corrupt sleep quality, and possibly enable long-distance nightmare transmission. Early electrical systems were blamed for insomnia, restless sleep, and dreams with unusually modern content. The idea that technology might influence consciousness wasn't entirely wrong, but the proposed solutions usually involved more ritual purification and less understanding of actual electromagnetic effects. The Industrial Revolution also created new social anxieties about sleep timing and productivity. Factory schedules demanded precise sleep management, leading to superstitions about optimal bedtime routines for industrial workers. These included beliefs about foods that promoted alert wakefulness, sleeping positions that prevented work-related dreams, and bedtime rituals that could help workers mentally separate from factory life. The goal was sleep that refreshed the body without allowing the mind to dwell on industrial conditions that were often genuinely terrible. Victorian sleep superstitions reached new levels of elaborate anxiety, because if you thought previous generations were uptight about unconsciousness, the 19th century decided to make sleep worry into a competitive art form. Victorian sleep advice combined emerging medical knowledge with moral philosophy, creating a complex system of beliefs that treated bedtime like a character building exercise with potentially eternal consequences. Victorian sleep superstitions included detailed theories about the moral implications of dream content. Good dreams were signs of virtuous character, while bad dreams indicated moral weakness that required immediate attention. Victorians maintained dream journals not for psychological insight, but for moral self-assessment. They developed elaborate classification systems for dream types, edifying dreams that improved character, warning dreams that prevented moral lapses, and dangerous dreams that required spiritual consultation. The Victorian period also introduced gender-specific sleep superstitions that reflected broader social anxieties about male and female roles. Women's sleep was considered more delicate and spiritually sensitive, requiring different protective measures and environmental conditions. Men's sleep was viewed as more robust, but potentially more susceptible to moral corruption through inappropriate dream content. These gendered sleep beliefs led to separate sleeping arrangements, different bedtime routines, and distinct approaches to dream interpretation that somehow managed to make unconsciousness into another arena for social regulation. Victorian sleep environments became increasingly elaborate, with specific requirements for bedroom decoration, furniture placement, and air quality management. The ideal Victorian bedroom was a carefully controlled environment designed to promote moral sleep, proper ventilation without dangerous drafts, adequate darkness without complete blackness, and religious imagery positioned to influence dream content positively. Victorian sleep preparation involved complex routines that could take longer than the actual sleep period. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the emergence of scientific sleep research, but rather than eliminating sleep superstitions, early sleep science often provided new vocabulary for expressing ancient anxieties. Researchers discovered REM sleep and began mapping sleep cycles, but popular interpretation of this research frequently focused on confirming existing beliefs about dream importance and sleep vulnerability, rather than developing more rational approaches to unconsciousness. Early sleep laboratories became temples of scientific superstition, where researchers attached elaborate monitoring equipment to sleeping subjects while maintaining beliefs about optimal sleep conditions that weren't significantly more rational than medieval protective rituals. The scientific method was applied to sleep study, but the underlying assumptions often reflected centuries of accumulated anxiety about unconscious vulnerability rather than objective investigation of biological processes. The 20th century introduced new categories of sleep superstitions related to modern life concerns about radio waves affecting dream content, beliefs about optimal sleep positioning for atomic age living, and anxieties about whether modern medicine could interfere with natural sleep processes. Each new technology prompted fresh speculation about potential sleep disruption, leading to protective measures that combined cutting-edge paranoia with traditional ritual approaches. Modern sleep superstitions adapted ancient beliefs to contemporary concerns. Instead of demons causing nightmares, modern superstitions blamed electromagnetic fields from electronic devices, rather than supernatural soul theft. Contemporary beliefs focused on sleep disorders that could fragment consciousness and disrupt identity. The vocabulary became more medical, but the underlying anxieties remained remarkably consistent. Sleep makes us vulnerable, and vulnerability requires protection through ritual, positioning, and careful environmental control. Contemporary sleep hygiene recommendations often resemble updated versions of ancient protective rituals. Modern sleep experts recommend consistent bedtime routines, specific environmental conditions, and careful attention to pre-sleep activities that echo centuries of sleep superstitions. The difference is that contemporary sleep advice claims scientific backing, while ancient sleep superstitions admitted they were based on supernatural concerns and cultural anxiety. The digital age has created entirely new categories of sleep superstitions focused on screen time, blue light exposure, and the effects of constant connectivity on sleep quality. These concerns often contain genuine insights about how modern technology affects circadian rhythms and sleep patterns, but popular interpretation frequently treats digital devices like supernatural forces that require ritual purification, and protective measures rather than practical tools that need sensible management. Social media has enabled the rapid spread of sleep-related beliefs and practices, creating virtual communities dedicated to sharing sleep optimization strategies that blend scientific research with personal superstitions. Online sleep forums function like digital versions of ancient communities where people shared protective rituals and compared supernatural experiences, except contemporary participants use fitness trackers instead of amulets and discuss sleep apps instead of guardian angels. The wellness industry has commercialized sleep superstitions by packaging ancient beliefs in contemporary marketing language. Products promising to optimize sleep quality through crystal placement, essential oil aromatherapy, or specialized mattress positioning appeal to the same fundamental anxieties about sleep vulnerability that drove medieval protective rituals. The methods have updated, but the underlying belief that sleep requires special protection and optimization remains remarkably consistent. Modern sleep tracking technology has created new forms of sleep-related anxiety that mirror historical concerns about dream interpretation and nocturnal supernatural activity. People now worry about sleep score optimization, REM cycle efficiency, and whether their smartwatches are accurately measuring their unconscious states. Sleep data has become the contemporary equivalent of dream symbolism, mysterious information that requires expert interpretation and might reveal important truths about health, character, or future well-being. The contemporary understanding of sleep disorders has provided medical explanations for many experiences that were previously attributed to supernatural causes. Sleep paralysis is now understood as a neurological phenomenon rather than demonic visitation. Night terrors are recognized as sleep disorders rather than prophetic visions or spiritual attacks. Sleepwalking is treated as a medical condition rather than evidence of soul wandering or supernatural possession. Yet these scientific explanations haven't entirely eliminated the emotional impact of these experiences, and many people still seek meaning and protection beyond medical treatment. Modern sleep research has revealed the genuine importance of sleep for physical health, mental well-being, and cognitive function, providing scientific validation for ancient intuitions about sleep's significance. However, this scientific understanding has often been interpreted through frameworks that echo historical sleep superstitions. The discovery that sleep is crucial for memory consolidation gets interpreted as validation of beliefs about prophetic dreams. Research on sleep's role in emotional regulation confirms ancient beliefs about the connection between sleep quality and mental health. The globalization of sleep superstitions has created hybrid belief systems that combine traditions from multiple cultures with contemporary scientific language. Modern practitioners might use meditation techniques from Eastern traditions, protective crystals from New Age spirituality, aromatherapy from European folk medicine, and sleep tracking technology from Silicon Valley, creating personalized sleep optimization systems that would baffle ancient practitioners but reflect the same fundamental concerns about nocturnal vulnerability and the need for protective rituals. Contemporary sleep medicine has had to address the persistence of sleep superstitions by acknowledging that many traditional beliefs contain practical wisdom about sleep hygiene. Even when the explanatory frameworks are scientifically inaccurate, regular bedtime routines, comfortable sleep environments, and pre-sleep relaxation practices promote better sleep, regardless of whether practitioners believe they're following medical advice or performing protective rituals. The effectiveness of many traditional sleep practices has created an interesting situation where scientifically trained healthcare providers sometimes recommend activities that closely resemble ancient superstitious rituals. The psychology of sleep superstitions reveals consistent patterns that transcend historical periods and cultural contexts. Humans consistently experience anxiety about the vulnerability of unconsciousness, seek ways to control or influence their dream experiences, and develop protective rituals that provide psychological comfort even when their practical effectiveness is questionable. These patterns suggest that sleep superstitions serve important psychological functions that aren't entirely addressed by scientific understanding of sleep physiology. The persistence of sleep superstitions in scientifically literate societies indicates that rational knowledge about sleep processes doesn't necessarily eliminate emotional needs for meaning, control, and protection during unconsciousness. People might understand the neurological basis of dreaming while still seeking symbolic interpretation of dream content. They might know that sleep paralysis has medical explanations, while still feeling that the experience has spiritual or psychological significance beyond its physiological causes. Modern sleep superstitions often function as practical coping mechanisms that help people manage anxiety about sleep quality, health concerns, or life stresses that become amplified during the vulnerable period of attempting to fall asleep. Bedtime rituals provide structure and comfort that can genuinely improve sleep quality, regardless of whether practitioners believe they're following scientific protocols or traditional protective practices. The placebo effect of believing that specific practices will improve sleep can actually lead to better sleep outcomes, creating a situation where the effectiveness of sleep superstitions becomes self-reinforcing. The commercialization of sleep optimization has created a marketplace where traditional superstitions compete with scientific approaches, often in products that combine both elements. Sleep-related consumer goods frequently promise to harness both ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technology, appealing to customers who want the comfort of traditional practices with the credibility of scientific validation. This market-driven synthesis of old and new sleep beliefs reflects the continued human need for ritual, protection, and control in the face of nightly unconsciousness. The cultural transmission of sleep superstitions continues through family traditions, popular media, and online communities, ensuring that beliefs about sleep vulnerability and the need for protective practices persist across generations. Parents pass bedtime rituals to children, often without conscious awareness that they're transmitting updated versions of ancient protective practices. Popular entertainment reinforces associations between sleep and supernatural vulnerability through horror movies, fantasy literature, and urban legends that echo historical beliefs about nocturnal dangers. The future of sleep superstitions will likely involve continued adaptation of ancient anxieties to new technological and social contexts. Emerging technologies like brain-computer interfaces, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence will probably generate new categories of sleep-related concerns that blend legitimate questions about technological effects on consciousness with traditional fears about sleep vulnerability. The human tendency to seek meaning, control, and protection during unconsciousness suggests that sleep superstitions will continue evolving rather than disappearing, finding new expressions for persistent psychological needs. The academic study of sleep superstitions reveals them as complex cultural phenomena that serve multiple functions. They provide frameworks for understanding mysterious experiences, offer practical approaches to sleep management that often contain genuine insights, create social bonds through shared beliefs and practices, and help individuals cope with fundamental anxieties about consciousness, vulnerability, and the unknown. Understanding sleep superstitions requires recognizing them not merely as irrational beliefs to be corrected by scientific education, but as adaptive cultural responses to universal human experiences that continue to require both practical and emotional management. The history of sleep superstitions demonstrates remarkable consistency in human concerns about unconsciousness across different time periods, geographical locations, and cultural contexts. While the specific beliefs, practices, and explanatory frameworks have varied dramatically, the underlying patterns reveal persistent themes. Sleep makes us vulnerable. Vulnerability requires protection. Dreams might contain important information. And the transition between consciousness and unconsciousness deserves careful attention and respect. These themes suggest that sleep superstitions address fundamental aspects of human experience that transcend the particular scientific or religious frameworks of specific historical periods. Contemporary sleep culture represents the latest chapter in humanity's long relationship with unconsciousness. Combining scientific understanding with persistent superstitious practices in ways that reflect both our growing knowledge of sleep physiology and our continued need for meaning, ritual, and protection during the vulnerable period of sleep. The future development of sleep superstitions will likely continue this pattern of adaptation, finding new ways to express ancient concerns while incorporating emerging knowledge and technologies into evolving frameworks for understanding and managing the mysterious daily journey into unconsciousness that remains of the most universal yet enigmatic aspects of human experience. The enduring appeal of sleep superstitions suggests that they fulfill needs that pure scientific understanding cannot entirely address, providing frameworks for meaning, making, community connection, and psychological comfort that complement, rather than compete, with rational knowledge about sleep processes. The most effective contemporary approaches to sleep management often integrate scientific insights with practices that echo traditional superstitions, suggesting that the future of human sleep culture will likely involve continued synthesis rather than replacement of old beliefs with new knowledge. The intersection of sleep superstitions with emerging neuroscience has created fascinating hybrid beliefs that attempt to reconcile ancient intuitions with modern brain research. Contemporary sleep enthusiasts might discuss the importance of optimizing delta wave production, while simultaneously arranging crystals around their bedrooms for energetic protection. They analyze sleep stage data from their fitness trackers while performing breathing rituals inherited from grandmother's folk medicine. This synthesis creates uniquely modern sleep practices that would bewilder both ancient shamans and laboratory researchers, combining EEG monitoring with sage smudging in pursuit of perfect unconsciousness. The democratization of sleep research through consumer technology has transformed ordinary people into amateur sleep scientists, generating vast amounts of personal sleep data that gets interpreted through frameworks mixing legitimate research with persistent superstitious thinking. Online communities share graphs of REM cycles alongside discussions of lunar influence on dream quality. Sleep forums feature detailed analysis of heart rate variability during different moon phases, creating pseudo-scientific sleep superstitions that use real physiological measurements to support beliefs that would fit comfortably in medieval dream interpretation manuals. Professional sleep medicine has had to navigate the complex relationship between evidence-based treatment and patient beliefs that often incorporate superstitious elements. Sleep clinics regularly encounter patients who request specific sleeping positions based on feng shui principles, insist on particular room orientations for optimal energy flow, or refuse certain treatments because they conflict with traditional beliefs about spiritual vulnerability during sleep. Effective sleep medicine often requires acknowledging and working with these beliefs rather than dismissing them, recognizing that patient comfort and confidence can significantly influence treatment outcomes. The global sleep economy has embraced this synthesis of scientific and superstitious approaches, creating products that promise to optimize sleep through both measurable physiological improvements and less tangible energetic or spiritual benefits. Smart mattresses incorporate sleep tracking sensors alongside materials claimed to have special energy properties. Sleep apps offer guided meditations based on ancient traditions alongside algorithms that analyze sleep patterns for optimization recommendations. The marketplace has discovered that consumers want both data and magic, leading to products that deliver scientific measurements wrapped in mystical marketing language. Cultural exchange in the global era has created unprecedented mixing of sleep traditions from different societies, leading to hybrid practices that combine elements from multiple superstitious systems. Modern practitioners might use Ayurvedic sleep timing recommendations, Native American dream catchers, European aromatherapy, Chinese feng shui bed positioning, and Silicon Valley sleep tracking technology in single integrated approaches to sleep optimization. These multicultural sleep systems reflect humanity's globalized access to traditional wisdom, even when the resulting combinations would puzzle practitioners from any single tradition. The environmental movement has generated new categories of sleep superstitions focused on natural versus artificial sleeping conditions, organic materials, and the effects of modern living environments on sleep quality. Contemporary sleep enthusiasts develop elaborate theories about optimal natural fiber bedding, the spiritual benefits of sleeping outdoors, and the importance of disconnecting from electrical grids during sleep hours. These beliefs often contain practical insights about environmental factors that affect sleep, but they're frequently expressed through frameworks that treat artificial materials and modern conveniences as spiritually contaminating influences that require ritual purification. Social media influencer culture has created new mechanisms for transmitting sleep superstitions. with sleep optimization becoming a form of lifestyle content that blends personal experience testimonials with selective interpretation of research findings. Sleep influencers share elaborate nighttime routines that combine legitimate sleep hygiene practices with superstitious rituals, presenting them as integrated systems for achieving perfect rest. Their followers adopt these practices not just for their practical benefits, but as participation in community identities built around shared beliefs about optimal sleep approaches. The quantified self-movement has transformed sleep superstitions by providing unprecedented amounts of personal data that gets interpreted through both scientific and magical thinking frameworks. Sleep tracking enthusiasts develop elaborate theories about optimal sleep timing based on personal biorhythm analysis, astrological considerations, and seasonal variations. They correlate sleep quality measurements with everything from dietary choices to cosmic events, creating personalized sleep superstitions that use real physiological data to support beliefs about supernatural influences on sleep patterns. Modern sleep disorders treatment has revealed the complex relationship between psychological beliefs about sleep and actual sleep quality, demonstrating that superstitious practices can have genuine therapeutic effects when they reduce anxiety and promote relaxation. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia often incorporates elements that resemble traditional sleep superstitions, consistent bedtime rituals, careful attention to sleep environment, and practices designed to promote mental transition into sleep readiness. The effectiveness of these approaches suggests that many traditional sleep superstitions contained practical psychological insights, even when their explanatory frameworks were scientifically inaccurate. The pharmaceutical approach to sleep problems has generated new superstitions about natural versus artificial sleep enhancement, with many people developing elaborate beliefs about the spiritual dangers of chemically induced unconsciousness. These modern sleep superstitions often focus on concerns that sleep medications might interfere with natural dream processes, prevent spiritual experiences during sleep, or create artificial sleep states that lack the restorative qualities of naturally occurring unconsciousness. The resulting practices often combine legitimate concerns about medication dependency with supernatural beliefs about the importance of maintaining natural consciousness transitions. Contemporary dream research has provided scientific validation for some aspects of traditional dream interpretation, while creating new frameworks for understanding dream significance appeal to both rational and superstitious thinking. Modern dream enthusiasts might discuss the neurological basis of dream symbolism while maintaining beliefs about prophetic dream content. They analyze REM sleep patterns while practicing dream incubation techniques inherited from ancient traditions. This synthesis creates uniquely modern approaches to dream interpretation that combine scientific vocabulary with persistent beliefs about dreams containing meaningful information beyond their neurological functions. The wellness tourism industry has commercialized sleep superstitions by creating destination experiences that promise optimal sleep through combination of luxury accommodations with traditional sleep practices from various cultures. Sleep retreats offer everything from scientifically designed sleep environments to shamanic dream ceremonies, appealing to customers who want both measurable sleep improvements and meaningful spiritual experiences. These commercial sleep experiences reflect the modern desire to purchase both relaxation and enlightenment through optimized unconsciousness. Climate change concerns have generated new categories of sleep superstitions focused on the effects of environmental disruption on natural sleep patterns and the importance of maintaining connection with natural rhythms despite modern living conditions. Contemporary environmental sleep superstitions often focus on the spiritual importance of sleeping in harmony with seasonal changes, lunar cycles, and natural temperature variations. These beliefs combine legitimate concerns about how artificial environments affect circadian rhythms with supernatural beliefs about the importance of maintaining spiritual connection with natural world cycles. The aging population in developed countries has created new markets for sleep superstitions, specifically focused on maintaining sleep quality throughout the lifespan and addressing age-related sleep changes through both medical and traditional approaches. Elder sleep superstitions often combine practical concerns about health maintenance with spiritual beliefs about the changing significance of dreams and sleep as people approach end-of-life transitions. These practices reflect both genuine medical needs and persistent cultural beliefs about the spiritual dimensions of aging and mortality. Space exploration has generated speculative sleep superstitions about the effects of artificial environments, altered gravity, and cosmic radiation on human consciousness during sleep. As humans spend extended periods in space-based environments, questions about how these conditions affect dream content, sleep quality, and spiritual experiences during unconsciousness have created new frontiers for sleep. Related beliefs that combine cutting-edge science with ancient concerns about environmental influences on sleeping consciousness. The future development of virtual and augmented reality technologies will likely generate new categories of sleep superstitions, focused on the effects of immersive digital experiences on dream content, the boundaries between artificial and natural consciousness states, and the spiritual implications of spending significant time in digitally mediated realities. These emerging technologies raise legitimate questions about consciousness and identity that will likely be interpreted through frameworks combining scientific research with traditional beliefs about the nature and significance of different consciousness states. Artificial intelligence development has begun to generate sleep superstitions focused on the possibility that AI systems might influence human dreams, access sleeping minds, or interfere with natural consciousness processes. As AI becomes more sophisticated and integrated into daily life, concerns about its effects on human sleep and dreaming will likely generate new protective practices and beliefs about maintaining natural consciousness boundaries in an increasingly digital world. The search for extraterrestrial life and growing interest in UAP phenomena have created sleep superstitions focused on the possibility of alien contact during sleep, supernatural abduction experiences, and the vulnerability of sleeping minds to non-human intelligence. These contemporary sleep beliefs reflect ancient patterns of attributing mysterious sleep experiences to supernatural entities, updated for an era when the mysterious entities might come from other planets rather than other dimensions. And so the story of sleep superstitions continues, each generation adapting ancient fears and protective practices to contemporary concerns, while preserving the fundamental human need to find meaning, seek control, and create safety in the face of nightly unconsciousness. Whether expressed through ancient rituals or modern sleep optimization strategies, these beliefs reflect our persistent recognition that sleep, despite its biological necessity, remains a profound mystery that deserves both practical attention and reverent respect. The dreams may change, the explanations may evolve, but the human impulse to seek protection and meaning during our most vulnerable hours continues, ensuring that sleep superstitions will persist as long as humans continue to close their eyes and surrender consciousness to the enigmatic realm of dreams.